What is happening, everyone? We are back for another episode, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a tackle talk. I've tried some new gear this year, kind of upgraded some stuff, have some stuff I really like, and some stuff that I think is really great compared to other gear. So today, we are going to be talking about the best overall spinning reel you can buy for freshwater, saltwater, any type of species that you really want to target. So let's hop into today's video. So I just want to start off with saying that the reel that I think is the best overall reel for any type of fishing, saltwater, freshwater, everything, it's not the cheapest reel by any means, but it's definitely not the most expensive by any means either. I've seen way more expensive reels and people use way more expensive reels. I'm just saying this is the best overall reel for your money that you spend, best bang for your buck type of reel that you're going to be very pleased with. It's going to be really smooth and a great reel. So just wanted to get out of the way before we got into today's video. If you guys want, I can make another episode on the best reels under certain price points or stuff like that, rods under certain price points. So let me know in the comments if you guys want that, and I will be sure to do that for you guys. But anyways, let's talk about this reel. So this year I was upgrading all my spinning reels, and I picked one. I kind of knew a brand I wanted to stick with, and when I knew what that brand was, I started looking through the reels. I had one of another model of this reel, and I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but I liked it. And then, as you guys may have seen earlier this year, we were contemplating possibly looking at a house down south, and I would be saltwater fishing some, so I wanted to start getting stuff that I can use for both saltwater and freshwater, and this reel is amazing. I got it for freshwater. We used it on charters and stuff we went on down south, and I got it, set it up with some bull bay rods right back here for reds and sea trout and everything for inshore fishing, and it was just sitting in my corner. And I'm like, I really want to use that rod. I want to use that reel. I'm like, I just don't want it sitting there much any longer. So I grabbed it, threw it on a Ned rig rod, started throwing it. I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm replacing all my spinning reels with these reels. I'm like, they're amazing, they're smooth, and they are just awesome reels. The drag, I think, is better than other reels, like strictly freshwater reels. It's sealed, so it's a complete saltwater reel. But anyways, that's kind of backstory of how I got this reel. I've been using these reels on my spinning rods now for about, I would say probably about 2 months is what I've used my ones that I've had the longest for, 2 to 3 months. But I have had them on rods that I throw all the time. I've caught tons of fish on them, and they've been used like crap. I've had to replace line on it already because of how often I'm casting with them, and that I just use it so much it just need a new line. But anyways, the reel I am talking about is the Shimano Stratic FL. The FL model from Shimano, like I mentioned, is a saltwater reel. They market this thing with the sealed bearings and sealed gears inside of it, so then you can use in saltwater. It's also, I believe, a full aluminum body and frame to it, instead of like if you look at the Stratic CI4 or the Vanford, it has more carbon pieces to it because it's not sealed. It's made for freshwater mostly. I know people use them for saltwater too, but it's made for freshwater, so they don't really worry about sealing. They don't worry about all that stainless stuff that you need for saltwater, or all the different type of metals and stuff you want for saltwater that's less corrosive than some of these plastic pieces or carbon pieces or anything like that's going to break. So that's one thing that they really pushed on this reel. It is a little bit heavier than most since it has that aluminum frame I mentioned. It comes in at, this is a 3000 size, it's 7.9 ounces. I've also got the 2500 size, and I believe it's the same 7.9 ounces. And I also have a 5000 size, which surprisingly actually isn't that big. I'll show you guys the reels here in a second. But I started off with that 3000 size, and then I threw it on saltwater gear, never used it in saltwater, and then I'm like, that's the one I said I threw it on a Ned rig rod. It's a Stratic FL 3000 or C3000, and I was fishing with it. The drag is super smooth, it casts super smooth, it reels like butter. It is amazing, best reel by far that I've ever used, and it's just great. That's why now I believe I've got 5 of these Stratic FLs. I couldn't go without them. Another reason why I went with the Shimano Stratic is because I've had Shimanos for years they have outlasted any other spinning or casting reel that I've got. I've got one that I've had that's not a Shimano that's lasted forever, but for the past like 2-3 years, it has been making a creaking sound, cracking sound, and I've had Shimanos the same length as that one, basically maybe a few months later after that when I bought it. And the Shimanos don't make any sounds, they don't cast any different, they all cast the same distance, same smoothness with reeling it, and they've been great. So that's why I decided to go with Stradic again, or Shimano again. My thoughts are, as much as I fish and like how much I use my gear and how much some of my cheaper stuff I've had to replace, I'm gonna go ahead with good gear, middle end gear. Some people may say this is high end gear, but I went ahead with this better gear that's gonna last me a long time. So you spend a little bit more money, but it lasts a lot longer than that cheap stuff does. So that way you don't have to replace it as much. So it really ends up evening out. So one thing I will mention, the Stradics are made in a few sizes. They've got 1,000, a 2,500, they have a C3000, a 4000, and a C5000. So basically the difference between the sizes like a 2,500 and C3000 is it's got the same frame on the reel. So the handle, the grip, basically everything is the same. The only difference between the two is the spool. Sorry if you guys can hear that. The AC just kicked on for the house, so it may be a little bit of noise in the background. But the reels, they're basically the exact same. They've got a different handle on them. The 2,500s and the 1,000s come with this little knob, where the 3,000s and 4,000s come with the T-handle. I don't mind either. I just do this on the Ned rig because I know it's going to be for bass fishing. I don't need the big T-handle for bass fishing. It's kind of a little bit more convenient with these, but I use the T-handle for bass fishing. Before I got this 2,500, it worked fine. So, like I said, the frames and everything on these two reels are the exact same size. The only difference is the spool. The spools, I believe, hold about 40 yards more or 40 feet more line. I believe that this one and the same size braid, it holds about 110 yards, where this one holds about 120 or 130 yards. So just a bigger spool, it just works a lot better because of that bigger spool, and that's also why I got the C3000 for saltwater. Want something that's small, that's somewhat light, and that's going to handle big redfish, and I'm going to have more line, so then because I know those fish are going to pull more drag, so I'm going to be able to have, like, let them kind of work that bait, let the rod do all the work, let the reel do the work, just let them drag, let them pull line if they need to, and then I can get them in, so I don't have to worry about running out of line. Bass fishing, you do that some, but lakes are limited depth, and they don't fight nearly as hard as what some saltwater fish do, so you don't have to worry about them pulling as much line. So there we are. That's the only difference between those two. Now, moving on between the 4000 and C5000, it is the same thing. The C5000 is the same sized reel as the 4000, it just has a bigger spool. And one difference between the C5000 and 4000, the reason why I went with the 5000 instead of the 4000, is the 4000 has that T grip or handle on it, like what the 3000 has, where the 5000 has the big knob on it. And I really like that because these bigger baits that I'm going to be throwing with the 5000, I like having that knob. When you have those bigger fish on fighting, it's a little bit easier to reel this knob, and honestly I think the knob's a little bit more comfortable than what the T-handle is. So that's why I have that. The reel, if you guys see, it's really not a huge reel. If you guys are into other brand reels, like I had a Daiwa BG 3000. This reel was the exact same size when put up next to it. I sold those reels when I bought the Stradics because I just needed to sell a few to be able to get all the Stradics I needed. So I got rid of everything. Now I've got almost all my spinning rods are Stradics, except for one. One is a Noski, one of them is a Stradic CI4. But this knob just makes it so much easier for when you're reeling in those bigger fish to grab it, and I think it's a little bit more comfortable than the T-handle. But this reel, by far, it's nowhere near as big as what you may think it is when ordering it. I expected a massive reel to come that I was barely going to be able to use. I wanted something I could use for bass fishing too, if I just wanted to use it, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to. But honestly, with this reel, I'd have no issues using it for bass fishing, throwing big tubes, throwing some heavier Ned rigs, heavier stuff like that, maybe some shaky heads, some deep swim baits like 1/4 ounce swim baits on spinning gear, just stuff like that for smallmouth. so I can use this for bass fishing if I really please. Now, one thing I also want to talk about is a lot of people are like, those reels, like, they retail for $199 for like the 1,000, 2,500 size reels. Then I think they're $209 for the 3,500 or 3,000 size, and 4,000. I think they're $219 for the 5,000. And what people say is, are they worth the extra money over top of the Noski, over top of, I think it's the Ultegra, whatever that $150, $160 Shimano spinning reel is? And my honest opinion is yes. I've got a Noski, and I've had that middle end reel. I forget exactly what the name of it is. I believe it's the Ultegra. Alright, I just looked it up, and it is the Ultegra. The Ultegra, it retails at $169 of what I just found on Cabela's website. I've used it before. I've used the Noski before. I've used the Sahara before. All those lower end reels, like lower than a Stratic FL, I've used them all. The Noskis, at first, I'm like, these reels are amazing, best $100 reel by far for spinning. Well, worked great last year, pulled it out this year, and now I start reeling, and it's almost like the anti-reverse system in it, so your reel doesn't spin backwards. It's starting to lock up on the front a little bit too. Now, I keep my stuff really well maintained. I grease it, oil it, do all that stuff, clean it, and it still kind of feels like it's locking up, and it doesn't always reel properly. And that's really what prompted me to get more of these Stratic FLs after I had such good luck with the first one. So that's basically where I'm at on that. The Ultegras, they work well. The Noskis, they work well. I don't think they're anywhere near what the Stratic FL is. I think the Stratic FL performs more like a Saragossa, Twin Power, and all those reels. Now, I say that, I know a lot of people will disagree with me. They'll say the Twin Power, the Saragossa, the Stellas, all those, that they are way better reels than what the FL is. But that's just my opinion. I've felt them, I've messed with them. Now, those ones can be a tiny bit smoother, but when you're talking about all these high-end reels, you're talking like you're nitpicking them to find a difference. Because I feel like this FL competes with the best of the best spinning reels, no doubt. Now, the other question is, people are like, will you take a Stratic FL over a Stratic CI4 or over the new Shimano Vanford? And my opinion on that is yes, I would. I've got a CI4. I was contemplating just putting it off to the side on a different reel or different rod, or just getting rid of it to replace it with the FL. But I'm like, no, it's still a good reel, great for salt or fresh water. I don't think they're as good for salt water, but some people will disagree on me with that. And I just think that it's just all around better than the Stratic CI4. The Vanford, I feel the same way. I think the Vanford and the CI4 are about the exact same reel. Like I said, some people are going to disagree with me with this, but that's just how I feel with it after my personal experience with it. So that's how I am. I talked to my buddy when fishing the river, and he told me he absolutely loves the Stratic FLs. He's got a Vanford CI4 and some other reels, and he says he loves those as well, but he has mentioned that he absolutely loves these Stratic FLs also. The big dilemma I was in was picking up the brand new release at iCast Shimano Noski FL that just came out. It is going to retail at 99 bucks. It looks almost identical to one of these reels if you look at it. I really didn't notice much of a difference at all. I've heard it's the most high-end $100 reel you can buy, and all these, it has all the high-end components in a $100 reel and all these good things. When I called to order it, I called American Legacy Fishing. They had one in stock. The only thing that didn't make me buy that at half the price as what some of these are is that it's a brand new reel. I've not tried it yet. And I'm like, is it going to be the same way that the original Shimano Noski is? Is it going to be that same way where the anti-drag or anti-reverse system is going to be like that, where it's going to eventually just lock up? And I was worried about some of those components and sacrificing some of those components from what you get with the Stratic FLs. So that's why I didn't. I would still take these over anything. The only reel I would take over top one of these right now would be a Stella. I felt them, the Stella SW, or even the FJ. I'd probably take it over it just because, You know, it's one of those things that it's a Stella, and that they're just amazing reels. I got the best of the best components in them. You can't beat them. So anyways, if you guys are interested in new reels, you want to upgrade your spinning combos, I would definitely suggest looking at these reels. I have them on all my Dobbins rods, and then also now these Bull Bay rods that I got for saltwater fishing. And people complain about them being heavy, but if you pair it with the right rod, all the Dobbins to me seem to be a little bit of tip heavy. So if you pair Stratic FL on those Dobbins rods, you're gonna balance it out, and they balance perfectly with those Dobbins rods. Even with these Bull Bay rods, we use these on our fishing charter, this exact combo, and these things, it feels super light in your hand, lighter than most of my combos I have, but they just feel great. I've got this right here on my Dobbins Cadence 712 that I use for Ned rigs, and it feels extremely light. I just went down to the 2500 size compared to the 3000, and it's great. Don't be afraid of that extra few ounces or extra half ounce, whatever it is, that the FL has over the Vanford or the CI4. You are not going to notice a difference, I guarantee it. So if you're looking for a new reel, don't miss out on the Stratic FLs. I've heard they're discontinued, or they are very soon, and they are hard to find right now already. So I'm not sponsored or hooked up with any of these companies. Tackle Direct always has them. If you get a hold of American Legacy Fishing, they have them most of the time. They're a great company. I order most of my stuff, Dobbins, Shimano, all that from them. And the last one is check your local tackle shops. A lot of the local shops have them. Cabela's have had them whenever I've been there, but they are hard to get. So if you guys want them, make sure you hop on it as soon as you can. I do not think you'll regret it at all. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video about the Shimano Stratic FL, my new favorite spinning reel, until maybe I get one of those Stellas or Saragosas or Twin Powers, you know? Who knows what's going to happen with that. Maybe we can make another video on that. But if you guys want more of any of this content, drop below in the comments what you guys want to see me compare next. I've got plenty of gear. I've got experience with plenty of gear. I can get a hold of plenty of gear from all my buddies that we can do a bunch of gear review. So make sure you guys put in the comments what you want to see next. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.